Hi there, this is Linda and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. Today I'm going to be talking about and setting my craft goals for 2025. Let's go ahead and dive right in. I'm so excited. 2025 is just right around the corner and I'm ready to get myself in order to figure out what my focus is for crafting for 2025. If you're new here, I previously shared my 2025 journal and planner lineup, which included this, which is my craft planner. So if you want to see more about this planner, you can check out that video. But today I'm going to be focusing on setting up the spread, which are my craft goals for the year. This is something I have done every year for quite a few years now. I have been crafting as long as I can remember. I have been planning just as long, and I have been making distinct craft goals for at least 5 years now. I have a class that launched at allieedwards.com called Plan, Prep, and Play that came out in January of 2023. And that class included my process for all things crafty, including setting my craft goals for the new year. There's a lot of content in that classroom that will help you set up your craft goals. And I'm going to use a lot of those techniques today, but obviously not in as much detail as there is in that classroom. So if you want more information, I believe that class is still available for purchase. And I do have a link down in the description box below. Today, I'm going to be focusing on my craft goals for 2025. To set these up though, the first thing I want to do is look at my craft goals for 2024. So I'm going to pull those over for you here. So before I get too much into this, I want to point out that this was my craft planner for 2024, which is the same book, the Hobonichi Day Free. And this video is not going to be all about Hobonichi and the paper in Hobonichi, but I purchased a 2025 one for this, and I was using, I've used stamps in here pretty regularly in 2024. You can see I have these stamps, and they bled a little, but not that much. When I started using stamps in here, they're bleeding a lot more. So I'm not going to use any more stamps on this page. I haven't had this issue in some of my other Hobonichi products for this year, but I'm just pointing that out to explain that I'm going to handwrite everything on here, which is totally fine. And I'm okay with a little bit of bleed, but I did notice that distinct difference. But let's talk about my substantive goals. So in 2024, I broke my projects out into these different focuses based on what those projects were and when I was going to work on them. And I specifically wrote for each of these the months of the year in these little grids here. And for something that I was going to focus on as a primary project in a month, I highlighted those months. So for example, December daily was going to be a huge focus in November and December. My Week in the Life album was going to be a huge focus in May and June. And that's kind of how I did that. I also had some projects that I said would be like kind of on the back burner, but that I would work on throughout the year. This was a great setup. I did not follow through with all of these projects. So I'm going to kind of go through and talk you through like what I did do and what I didn't, because that's going to inform kind of what I set up for 2025. So first, let's talk about Project Life. Project Life is something I have done. 2025 will be my 13th year of this project. And I previously shared a video setting up my 2025 Project Life albums and sharing a little bit more about that project. So if you're interested in that project, go ahead and check that video out. I will link it in the description box below. However, this is a project that has been a focus of mine for the last few years, and it has been something that I have really done well in terms of prioritizing it. I finished 2023 early in the year. I am almost done with Project Life 2024. I just have December left to do, so I will finish that off in the beginning of 2025. So that's definitely going to be part of my focus this year. And then Project Life 2025 is going to be a big focus for me as well. So I know that's going to continue in 2025. I have this journal here. This is just my 2024 random journaling notebook. And I just made some notes in here as I kind of looked through this before I got on this video, but that's kind of where I'm pulling things. And I'm just going to keep this off screen because it's like my messy page, but that is just so you know that I'm not just remembering all of these things that I'm saying right now. I did write a lot of this down before I popped onto this video. Okay, so besides Project Life, what else was I working on? I was focusing on my mini-me albums. This is something that I had worked on. I started it in 2022, and I had done a really great job in 22 and 23 of working on this. In 24, I kind of fell off. And that happened for a number of reasons. I had a lot of other projects going on. I had a lot of creative team assignments. I was really focused on Project Life and my journals, and I just didn't prioritize doing my mini-me albums as much as I would like to in 2024. So I still have to finish 23, and I have to finish both of 24 albums, and I want to start 25. This is not a project I'm going to abandon in 25 because I do still really want to do these, but I'm going to reevaluate kind of why they didn't work for me and what I can do differently in 25 to make them work. One of the things I am going to point out that was a big kind of shift for me is these albums were really focused on using my story kits, and the story kits have been discontinued in 2025. However, this is kind of great news for me because this means I have time to focus on using those older story kits that I have planned for these albums. So I took some time and I went through my project plans, and what I do basically is for every kit that comes out, I lay out a page and I sketch out all of my projects, and I put the products in Ziploc bags ready to go to create those projects. Ideally, I will make those projects pretty soon thereafter. I don't always get to them. Sometimes I usually get to a couple, but I don't get to all of them. So what I did was I took some time and I copied over all of the projects that I want to get done in 2023's mini-me's and 2024's mini-me's, and I just copied them in here. So that means I don't have to dig around in all of those various kit spreads for those planned projects. I just have them in here in order of how they go in those albums. So I can see visually how many pages I have planned to create, and I will ideally be able to work on those during this year. They're also all in one place in here, and I think that's going to make it easier for me to pull from to create. So that is going to be a big focus in 2025. Plus, I'm going to do a 2025 mini-me, which is going to be slightly different. So I'm going to share a little bit of that with you here. Okay, so starting in 2022, I started making my mini-me albums, and they're these 6x8 albums. Here is part 1 of 2024. In 2022, I created 1 album. In 2023 and 24, I created/planned 2 6x8 albums to create the year. So this is part 1 of 2024. It's maybe halfway done, and I have a lot of pages left to go back and add in there. For 2025, I wanted to switch things up, and I got inspired by the December daily albums because they had these 2 albums that match, but they're different sizes. So I decided that instead of doing 2 6x8 albums, I'm going to do a 4x6 or 6x4 album. And I'm going to do this 10x8 album, which is going to give me a little more space to create some larger pages. And so I'm super excited about that. I haven't done anything to set these up yet on the inside. Today, I'm going to make my binder labels on here. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that as part of this video, but I'm going to set that up just so that I don't have to worry about that in the new year and can just start creating pages. But I just wanted to share with you that that is my plan for those albums, and that is still going to be a priority in 2025. My next priority in 2025 are my daily journal. So I have, starting in 2023, I was keeping a daily journal in a Hobonichi Cousin. Here's my 2025 version, and I intend to start with this and daily journal in here. And this is a combination of journaling, memory keeping, just being crafty, having fun. And that is part of my craft goals and times. So I know some people who watch my channel purely scrapbook and don't do any of the journaling. Some people do journaling and they don't scrapbook. Some people do other crafts. And I want to say that if you are doing something like this, if you are setting out your craft goals, I highly recommend including all of your crafts in one. And I could just do this as my scrapbooking goals, but I'm not doing that because to the extent I am spending time doing daily journaling, I don't have that time to scrapbook, and vice versa, right? So if you are someone who does multiple things like I do, and you are following someone online who does only a daily journal and they have a full page completed every single day, and you wonder, how come I can't do that? Well, maybe it's because you are splitting your time with other hobbies, which is totally fine. You can spend your time however makes sense for you, but it's important to keep in mind that you don't have unlimited time. So in setting out your goals like this and putting everything in one place, you are able to see kind of where your time and energy is going and make sure you're not overcommitting. So I'm definitely going to prioritize my journaling, my project life, and my mini-me albums in 2025. I also had some other little journals here that I was listing. I have my media journal. I am abandoning that. I abandoned it halfway through 24. I'm documenting some of my media in my daily journal, but I'm not keeping a separate media journal. I just have too much. Commonplace, that is something I'm continuing in 2025, but I don't do it on the regular. Same with house journaling. And I am going to continue my 5-year journal. I'm on year 5 in 2025, so I'm excited about that. I'm not sure if I will start a new one afterwards though. And then I am starting a new one in 2025 called a life book, which I have not shared a ton about. I talked about it in my 2025 goals video. So if you are curious a little bit about that, I share a little bit there, but I will definitely share more as I get to it. I don't really have a full idea yet of what that's going to look like, but it's something I just want to make a note of because it is going to take some time. Then on this side, I have more of my contained projects. And ongoing. So there's really kind of 3 types of scrapbooking projects or journaling projects that I have really kind of seen. You have ongoing projects, which are projects that you continually add to year after year, whenever you feel like it. You don't have to work on them on a regular basis, but you can just add to it as you go. Then there are your annual projects that you fill in regularly. So this is your project life album. This is your daily journal where you're doing this regularly throughout the year, all year long. And then you have your self-contained projects. Self-contained projects are the ones that are just kind of standalone projects that you do at a certain point in time, and there's a very distinct start and finish. This is like the Week in the Life album or December Daily. These projects take a lot of time for a short period of time. So when you are figuring out how to set up your goals throughout the year, it is important to keep in mind that you don't have unlimited time. So if you want to maybe focus on December Daily in December, maybe have a little less time to work on some of your other projects, right? So over here, I have my Week in the Life. I did that. I was very successful. I completed my Week in the Life album. I'm going to do that again in 2025. Same with December Daily, going to do that again in 2025. Ongoing projects, Summer's albums and my Stories album, I'm going to continue. My Heritage album, I never started it. I have like 1 page in there that I did a couple of years ago, and I think I did it in 2022, and that's it. I will come back to that at some point, but it's not going to be a priority in 2025. My daughter is now in college, so I don't have new stories in her albums. I'm still working on just filling in older ones, and at some point that's going to be done, and I can work on my Heritage album or devote that time elsewhere. My New York Adventures album. I was super excited to start this mini album to document the local adventures that I've gone on. I have quite a few that I've added this year. I didn't start this album. I still want to do this. I'm not going to prioritize it in 2025 on my goals. If I have time and inspiration, I will do it, but that's okay. And then I never did Day in the Life. I didn't do a St. Lucia mini album. I'm not going to focus on that this year. I didn't do Europe travel album. This one is really bothering me. I really want to do this. I also have some big vacations coming up in 2025 that I want to document. So I'm going to prioritize that as well on here. The other thing that is not on there, that is a huge priority for me in 2025, is redoing my craft room. I am going to completely redo the decor and the organization in my craft room in 2025, and that's going to take a lot of my time and energy, and that is going to be a priority for me. So what I'm going to do is right here, I'm going to write my priorities for 2025. So I'm going to go ahead and put music on as I'm writing, and then I will pop back on and talk you through everything that I write out. But I'm going to start with my priorities right here. Okay, so I started right here with my priorities. So I have 4 priorities, and I'm going to keep these in mind throughout the year as I'm planning my monthly goals and as I'm setting up my goals here and doing my check-ins. So I am going to redesign and reorganize my craft room to have a peaceful and clean space. I have some systems that are organized in my craft room. I have some systems that are very not. I have some systems that I have outgrown. And I have a lot of clutter, and my design needs an update. I have some furniture that's not working anymore. I need to repaint, and I just want to completely redo my craft room. And this is going to be a priority for me in January and early 2025, but I'm giving myself the space of the entire year to have my craft room 100% done by the end of the year. So this means that every month I'm going to have some goals that I check in on this, and I'm going to work on sharing these on my YouTube channel during 2025. I am also going to prioritize documenting 2025 in my daily journal, my Project Life album, and my Mini-Me Stories albums. I'm going to finish my older projects that are in progress and my planned out kits to make space. So why that is not the same as just doing everything, what I am doing is I'm going to focus on the ones that I've started, like my Mini-Me albums, and not the ones that I haven't even started, like my Heritage album or my New York Adventure album. I'm going to focus on getting those ones done, and I'm going to focus on getting through all of these planned out spreads that I have so I can put those kits into my stash and not have these planned out projects sitting all over the place or waiting for me to put them together. And then finally, I'm going to prioritize documenting at least some of my travel adventures. It really bothers me that I did not do an album for my Europe trip this last summer. And I know I'm taking 3 big trips next year, and at least one of them, I really want to make a standalone album. I already have the album purchased for that one, so I want to prioritize doing those. So these are my priorities. Now I'm going to work on kind of breaking down these goals on the rest of my page, and I think I'm going to start with my craft room organization. Okay, so I wanted to kind of talk you through how this came together. So I kept blue as my highlighter for things that are priorities. And so I broke down my 4 priorities into what I want to do. My craft room redo is the only one that I kind of broke it down into steps a little bit. And I think that's because it's just a much bigger project. And some of these things feel like huge hurdles, like painting. And then once that's done, I think it won't be as intimidating of a project. I also use green for other projects that I want to make time for but aren't on my priority list, because I'm just highlighting that as a difference because they are just not going to take as much precedent. And some of the projects here, like my creative team projects, I obviously will do them. Same with my YouTube channel content, but it's not my focus this year for me. So I'm going to do them, but they won't necessarily be my focus. And my YouTube channel, a lot of these things end up on my YouTube channel, but I just wanted to put it on here because it is something that takes up a lot of my time. I found as I was doing this, I didn't need as much space. I decided not to break it out like this, like I did last year by the months. And instead, I decided to break out the months like this. So I am going to set up a monthly page, just like I did last year. Let me find one in here. I just saw. So here is my July project planner. So this is just one randomly. And I do this every month. I set up my goals on one side and my products, because I do product tracking to make sure that I'm using more than I bring in in terms of new projects, between what I'm gifted from creative teams and working with brands and what I am purchasing coming in and what is going out in terms of what I'm using or donating or trashing occasionally. And so this is just something I do every month, and I'm going to continue these in 2025. But something I found in 2024 was that while I set my goals each month, I did not flip back to this as often as I would have liked. So what I'm going to do in 2025 is I am going to use this as my jumping off point to create my goals for the month. And then I'm going to put them over here in terms of like the big level goals. So like if one of them is, I realize I missed putting 2024 Project Life on here. But if one of them on here is, for example, for January, is going to be finished 2024 Project Life, I'm going to put that here. And then on here, I will break down by each spread that I have to do. So that gives me like a little more breakout here, but it's also going to tie it all in with my annual goals. I also guess that you guys are kind of curious why I have 3 months that are green over here. And that is because those are the months that I am traveling for at least 1 week of the month. I believe they're all actually close to, but more like 2 weeks. And that is because those months I will have way less time for crafting because I won't be at home. Other than my journal, which I will bring with me, I'm not going to be working on a lot of these projects during those months because I just won't be here. So I just kept them a different color so that I'm able to kind of see that at a glance when I look at what I am planning for those months and what I have actually accomplished. I hope to come back in here and kind of check things off as I go. Some of these are not things I'm going to be able to check off, like working on Summer's albums. I'm not going to finish them, but some of them will, and it'll be nice to be able to see that. I also just added a little bit of decoration on here to make it fun. And I added in a little meme that I had screenshotted and printed because I had a little bit of extra space here. I considered leaving this blank to add to it as the year goes on, and I decided against it. If I choose to bring in other projects as the year goes on, which often happens, I will just do that in my monthly plans, and then I will just add it in here as I go. Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope that this video gave you lots of ideas for setting your craft goals for 2025. Do you set craft goals? Let me know in the comments what your focus is going to be for 2025. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, I hope to see you guys all in the next one. Bye.